Okay, this is not about the Achilles. This is about a very common injury called the tennis elbow. By the way, I'm Ward Snyder. I'm here with Brian Coker. Please watch the other videos, but this one is specifically on the tennis elbow. I'm going to talk about the technique that probably causes the injury, and then Brian's going to give you some treatments for the injury. Number one on the tennis elbow, in my opinion, that causes it, and I've been playing since I was 12. I won't tell you how long that is. If you hit it out in front of you with an extended arm, your weight automatically transfers into the shot. There's no stress on the elbow. When you start hitting late, which most people do, and I'm talking most club players, instead of out here, they get late, look at the elbow. All the pressure is on the elbow, causes the tennis elbow. So my antidote for that is better technique, better preparation. As soon as the ball comes, left arm is out, meet it where the left arm is, your weight will automatically transfer, so it's less stress on the elbow. You should not have any problems, no injuries. However, Brian is going to show you, if you have the injury, what can you do to alleviate the pain and suffering, etc. Go ahead, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Ward. And I'll just echo what Ward says. Number one thing you can do for tennis elbow is absolutely form and technique. If you hit the ball properly, that's going to be the best thing you can do. But when we look at elbow pain, tennis elbow being top of the elbow here, golfer's elbow being down here, both treated very similarly, both a product of technique or improper technique, I should say. But when we're looking at the joint, at the body, you have essentially a hinge joint at the elbow, surrounded by a rotary joint at the wrist and a rotary joint at the shoulder. Most of the body is set up that way. Whether there's the knee, you have the ankle and the hip. So rotary joint, hinge joint, rotary joint. When we have a problem in our hinge joint, it's probably because there's a malfunction in one of the rotary joints on either side. So if you got a problem in your shoulder or your wrist, that means the hinge joint then is trying to compensate and be that rotary joint, which is not designed to be a rotary joint, it's a hinge joint. So we want to attack the shoulder and the wrist. So we'll start down here. These are exercises you can do to really ideally prevent tennis elbow. But if you have tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, these are things you can do to hopefully make it feel better. So starting with the wrist, mobility and strength. Mobility, you would find a wall. You would essentially put your hand up flat on a wall. If you see me here, I'm hand flat here, and I'm just trying to push my palm to the wall, stretching essentially this way. This is another way you can do it. You would also want to stretch it this way. So you got a hand on the wall, kind of leaning into it, or pulling here just like so. You'd want to hold these stretches for about a minute each. You could then take and do circles, big circles with your hand there. You'd obviously do both sides. You want to be right-handed and left-handed. Then we look at the strength. So the strength is going to be our grip, so the ability to close our hand, as well as the ability to open the hand. There's things like stress balls you can squeeze. You can take a bucket of rice actually and work your hand down to the bottom of the rice of the bucket, work your hand back out. They have all sorts of toys that you can take and work on squeezing, squeeze, release. You can then we want to look at the wrist flexion and extension. If I take a dumbbell here and I place my arm on my leg like so, I have extension where I would go up and down. I'd want to go 15 to 20 times. And then I have flexion where I go up and down. I like to roll it to my hand, bring it up and down. Now with the strength exercises, whether you're squeezing or doing these, it's very important not to overdo it. You can actually give yourself tennis elbow by overdoing that squeeze.
So Brian, how do you know if you've overdone it?
It's a good question. I would keep it at twice a week. You do 2 sets to failure to where you get that fatigue of any of the exercises, and just leave it at that. Maybe it's once a week. Can you build up to it? You don't want to overdo it. I've seen people give themselves tennis elbow just from overdoing particularly the squeeze.
One other question, Brian. So if a person already has the tennis elbow, are you advising them to take off and lay off, or can they continue to play but to implement these exercises you're talking about today?
So I know a lot of people sit on different ends of the spectrum with that. So some people will say, take a break, rest, recover, and then get back to it. I tend to be on the other side. I've seen too many people, they'll take months off, they rest, they're feeling better, they get back out, and it comes, whatever the injury is, the pain comes right back. And they essentially feel like they've wasted the last few months. I tend to say, do these exercises, play as able. If pain is increasing, we've got to back off. If you can mitigate the pain and work towards it feeling better, even if it's slowly, then continue to play, continue to work through it, and then just be patient. Accept the fact that you may have to play at 75%. You may have to take the volume of play down a good bit, but I typically don't tell people to rest completely.
Okie doke, Brian. I want to finish this by saying, in a nutshell, you're not going to avoid Achilles, but you're going to avoid the tennis elbow if you listen to Brian and you listen to myself. Thanks for subscribing. Have a good day. Watch the others.